to shed more light on this issue, we are joined over the phone call by Mr. Mohamed Sabreen, the managing editor of Al Ahram newspaper. Good evening, Mr. Mohamed.
How are you?
First of all, as President Donald Trump called the National Guard soldiers to respond to the civil unrest in Los Angeles, what are the consequences of this policy?
I think, what we are witnessing right now is a big divide between the Democratic Party and the Republican regarding, the issue which we are speaking about it, which is the immigrants and the illegal immigration. I think, the harsh measures from President Trump is reflecting, how far he's willing to go against, the wish or the convention of a big part of the American people who are not supporting his policy and the way he is handling.
Yes.
So I think, we could anticipate that, this issue is going to escalate more and more, because both parties, are starting, to dig in the ground, and they are not willing to compromise and solve this crisis.
Well, the UN spokesman Farhan Haq said that the UN doesn't want to see any further militarization of the situation in Los Angeles protests. Why does the UN warns against militarization in contexts like Los Angeles, and how might this relate to the international human rights norms on protest management?
I think, the United Nations, maybe they don't want the situation to escalate. Even, President Trump, was speaking about, that things could lead to a civil war, and despite the fact that, nobody could agree with him that this crisis, could escalate, to that degree. So maybe the United Nations don't think that, this excessive use of force, maybe it is very heavy, to handle such a crisis. This, and the governor of California, actually go to the court and ask the court, to stop, the president, which is representing, the federal government from intervening, in some kind of local issue, and the governor of California thinks that that the local authority could handle the situation.
Well, how might the militarization of protests impact the public trust in government institutions and the right to peaceful assembly? How did you see this?
I think, this is going to affect, the whole national, arena, and it's going to affect, the outcome of, the coming election, for, the Congress, and also it's going to be some kind of the ground for more disagreement between, the Democratic, representative governor or mayors and, senators inside, the Congress regarding, a lot of issues. One of them, which is, how to handle immigration, and it seems to me up to now, the gap is so huge between, two different camps. So this is going to, the issue and the disagreement is going to stay with us for a long time to come.
Yes, we also need to know about how does the Amnesty International characterize President Trump's deployment of National Guard troops to Los Angeles, and what two human rights violations does it link to this action?
you know, because, you know, President Trump, you know, made a lot of accusation out of court, you know, and this is one of the disagreement, you know. In one hand, you know, the Democratic Party asking that, you know, we have to go through, you know, the law and, you know, let the law take its courses. And in the other hand, you know, President Trump thinks that, you know, these immigrants are bringing a lot of crime and drugs and making a lot of harm to the American society. So both camps do have its own convention, and up till now, you know, President Trump having some narrow edge regarding this issue, but by harsh measurement, I think he start to lose some of the support. You know, maybe, you know, some of the American people agree with him regarding, you know, the immigrant and how, you know, America should reduce the number of illegal immigrants, but, you know, they started to disagree with him regarding how to handle this one.
Right. As we see that California Governor Gavin Newsom said he planned to file a lawsuit against U.S. President Donald Trump in response to the administration's extraordinary deployment of the National Guard to confront immigration protesters. What are the constitutional principles that will be taken?
You know, the American president, you know, made some kind of reference to an American old law, you know, issued in 1807, which called, you know, the Rebellion Law, which give, you know, the American president the right to deploy, you know, the Army and the National Guard in any state of America or town or city, and ignoring, you know, the local, you know, authority, but only in the cases of, you know, major, you know, crisis. And now, you know, this is, you know, the ground, you know, the local, you know, the governor said, you know, it is not a big problem. It is, you know, a handful, you know, and very easy to contain. And, you know, President Trump thinks that, you know, the situation is so severe, and, you know, he is authorized or have the authority, you know, to intervene. You know, we have to notice that he used rebellion when he was referring, but now he starts to not to use this term. So I think, you know, maybe we are going to reach, you know, a compromise, or waiting until, you know, the court going to decide where to draw the line between, you know, the local government and the federal government.
Right. Mr. Mohamed Sabreen, the managing editor of Al Ahram newspapers, thank you so much for joining us in our program today. Thank you. Dear viewers, we will go for a short break and come back again. Stay with us.